Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Fantasy Football University, FFU, coming at you yet again in the regular season, week five waivers. I am Mr. Bilderkusas. I'm here with Mr. Tom Lang. Mr. Lang, how you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm just one of those mornings you just need that coffee.
It's a great morning indeed. We had such a crazy weekend. So many injuries and stuff, which we'll get to, that's affecting waivers. Let's give a quick sit rep. So we're going into week five here. We got four teams on bye. That's the Falcons, the Bears, the Packers, and the Steelers. So we'll be talking about how that affects your team as it comes up. Quick reactions to the weekend. I know you want to celebrate the whole Giants thing. I'm going to be here to help temper expectations to your excitement this week, but you could go ahead and revel in your victory. Go ahead.
Giants won. Move on to the next one.
Yeah, they did. We'll talk about some of the implications of that.
Temper my expectations.
If nothing else, the vibes are good, so it keeps them competitive and it keeps players
Yeah,
relevant.
it's nothing for Billy just to put a negative damper onto my, you know, positive weekend that I just had. But it's
Here,
cool.
here to temper expectations because I have a feeling there's going to be some waiver wire moves that we'll get to that. I have some of my reactions to the weekend are just right off the top of my head. The Chiefs are who we thought they were. And Mahomes is putting it together with smoke and mirrors, but it's Patrick Mahomes, so he will put it together, smoke and
Yeah,
mirrors.
let me just say this because nobody's really talking about Lamar Jackson being out for the second half of the game with the hamstring. So, the whole team really got decimated from that. But move on.
He wasn't out until the mid to the late fourth quarter, so it wasn't, and they were being destroyed by then. So it wasn't. Now we should mention that. I mean, the Ravens, like, first of all, the Ravens at this point have no defense. So, you should be able to put up that many points on them. So it raised
And their defensive tackle, I can't pronounce his last name, but he is going to be out for the entire season with the neck injury.
yeah. So I mean, the Ravens are definitely a defense to target, and you could tell by the FanDuel lines now, like the Ravens are, even teams that are bad are scheduled to be putting up points against them. So we'll keep an eye on that moving forward. Other than that, like it was a bit of a normalizing week in terms of teams that lost. So like the 3-0, the Chargers lost, the 3-0 Buccaneers lost again to the Eagles. The Eagles got two straight wins that they should not have had the last 2 weeks. Whatever.
I don't think they attempted a pass in the second half.
Really?
Yeah. I think there's a stat on that they either only attempted two passes or they did not attempt a pass in the second half of that
Well,
game.
God bless any Devontae and AJ Brown owners
I
going
will say
forward.
this. I will say this. It is tough and it's been a tough ride in the beginning, but you could buy real low on these guys and
Oh
even
yeah.
if it doesn't happen, go pick up a waiver wire guy and just go trade him over to see if you could get AJ Brown.
The owner might be so aggravated at this point. You're right. It could be a thing. This is why we said after the big game that they had, whatever it was 2 weeks ago, like you need to trade them now. Don't care
Yep.
if it's like 50 cents on the dollar, trade them and get some kind of imagine if you would have traded AJ Brown for DK Metcalf or something. Like it would have been so. I mean, God bless you guys. I know it's gonna be a rough year. You know it is for the Eagles pass catchers. And like I said, so with the Chargers losing to the Giants, it normalize it makes it a bit closer in the AFC West. That leaves only two undefeated teams, right? It's the Bills and the Eagles at this point, which basically we've been saying when throw in the 49ers, although their defense now is decimated, but it's basically a collision course
All the,
between the Bills and the Eagles here at this
and, and
point.
and honestly, the Bills did not look great this past weekend. Almost losing the game to the Saints was a little crazy. But again, could have been one of those looking ahead games. You just never
Maybe.
know.
I have a weird take on that game. We'll get to some of the players involved, but I don't think it was so much the Bills not looking as good. I think the Saints are more competitive than we think. They're not the best team, but they're definitely not the worst team. We'll cover the worst team today. But like I think that they're way more competitive than we thought. Like I said, we've been saying Rattler's been playing better than we thought. If Olave doesn't throw that stupid pass, the Saints might win that game, basically.
I don't understand why he threw the ball, why that was scripted for Olave to throw the ball. You really haven't seen that at all in his professional career. I don't know if he did that in college or anything like that, but again, like just give the ball to the guy that's actually doing something on the field that's been pretty that has been pretty productive the past couple weeks.
I know. Before we get into waivers, I wanted to get your opinion too. It was such a crazy weekend. I nothing. There's the things that aggravate me. The Adonai Mitchell play, which basically cost the Colts
Yeah, the game.
the game against the Rams, which
I
by the way was a
guarantee
great
you,
game.
guarantee you that that Daniel Jones will not be throwing him the ball, or he might not, Mitchell might not find himself on the field
He
for
he
that
might
kind of mistake.
he might not, but like, what is this thing where these guys they have to get it at the 1 yard line? No, no, no. I have to mess with the ball at the 1 yard line. I have to do this thing where I put it
Just
down,
cross the
or
plane. It's ridiculous.
why do they do this?
Clout. I don't know.
It makes them look cool that look at me celebrating before I get in the end zone. I
Exactly.
mean, like,
I don't know. I mean, not only that, but there was like two defenders right on his back. Like, he was reaching for the end zone, I guess anticipating to get hit, but I mean, just go. Like you're gonna just get hit. Even if you're past the end zone, just take the flag, whatever it is.
I know
Tuck the ball and run.
it's so irritating. Ugh. All
And
right.
I lost a big play, touchdown with that too. Because I started Daniel Jones this week over Dak Prescott. I needed as
I
much as
know.
I could after everything that just happened this weekend.
Oh, that's worth a 2 second conversation. So, and I believe it was the right process. We basically sat Prescott everywhere, including our high stakes league, and Prescott ends up being like the number one or two or three quarterback on the week. Um, it's a testament to I think it's a testament to how good he is, and there's gonna be a commitment for them to spread the ball around, and Prescott's gonna be a beneficiary. So take that as an encouragement. CD will be back in a couple weeks. It
And their
doesn't.
defense is terrible.
And that's the point. Their defense is so bad that they need to keep it going. So we'll keep an eye on that. But we're gonna jump into some waivers, sir.
Yep, let's get it.
All right. So we'll start like we always do. We'll start with running backs. And like we said, we started switching up the format a little bit at the running back specifically. We'll get into that. We'll jump into that, but we'll start with drop candidates. So the three names right off the bat, if they're still on your team, you could go ahead and drop them. They're still pretty widely owned available. That's Austin Eckler, James Conner, and Najee Harris. If any of them are on your team, you can go ahead and drop them. They're not coming back. IR, done for the season.
People
Um,
may have them. The reason why the numbers might still be up there is because of keepers, but
I gotcha.
um, yeah.
When they fall below 20, then I'll let it go. But it's while they're hovering there, it's like people are forgetting, and there's not a lot of other names to mention because the value of running backs, whatever. But we just wanted to highlight Dylan Sampson. You could go ahead and drop him. Ford is clearly the backup to roster there in Cleveland. If you are going to roster a backup, which you just might. I mean, we'll get to that when we talk about the team.
It depends on game script.
Right. It's not going to be Samson in the way that they have it. Judkins is such a beast, so you could just go ahead and drop Samson. I had a hard time finding other drop candidates considering, especially now. I want to point out one strategy that I use. I don't know if you do the same thing. Is I tend to drop guys that are kind of handcuffs without standalone value going into a bye week as a way to save on that roster space going into that bye week. For example, we got the Falcons, Bears, Packers, and Steelers on bye week. So I would not be dropping Algier because I have a feeling he would get picked up in 2 seconds. But for example, Emmanuel Wilson on the Packers, if you were rostering him as the handcuff for Josh Jacobs, he might be a good drop candidate for this week. Pick him back up the following week because they're going into the bye. I might have said the same thing about Kyle Monangai, but because of how bad Swift has been looking, maybe Monangai is a guy that you wouldn't want to let go going into the bye week. We'll talk about that too. Do you like that strategy too?
Yeah, no, I do.
Okay. Yeah, it's just managing the best out of your roster, especially going to a bye. All right, so let's go into the format now we're going to be doing before we run through the teams is we want to talk about some interesting guys that absolutely deserve a highlight before we do the team rundown. So top on this list, and it's not close, is Woody Marks, rookie running back for the Houston Texans. So I don't know if you want to call it a 50-50 or that he's taking over as the lead guy. All I know is he looked really good. Now, again, it was against the Titans. He's probably not going to look as good as against some other teams, but he's only 33% owned, 37% owned, depending on your league. He played himself right into full contention. We've kind of been halfway highlighting him for a couple of weeks. Were you impressed, or are you tempering your expectations with him?
I was semi impressed, and I was completely wrong about that Titans game. I thought the Titans didn't even show up that game. That was crazy. But
Right.
Woody Marks was great on the ground. He was great on the air. So he did show more flash than obviously a older Nick Chubb. And Woody Marks did take over the backfield. I do think that, there has been speculation. There hasn't been really any talk about Mixon and coming back as of right now. But again, no news is good news, I assume. If they're actually going to, I will say this, and I said this a couple weeks ago. If the team is competitive and they're going to win the next three games and they're 4-4 at that point, right? They'll be no, sorry. They'll be 4-3 at that point. Um, I think Mixon comes back because they're trying to compete with the division. Um, but if not, then I think Woody Marks is a great waiver pick this week.
Yeah, well, he's a great
Yeah,
waiver
for the
pick
next
in any capacity, but
100%.
for the rest of the yeah, to your point is well taken for the rest of the season. Yeah, we should mention the Mixon thing. I sent you a text yesterday, so it's not looking good that Mixon comes back.
I didn't read your text for that one.
It's not looking good that Mixon comes back this season. Now, again, a lot of that is, I don't know if D'Amico Ryans is just himself a little aggravated at the situation. I don't know what happened there. There's clearly more than meets the eye into what happened in that offseason, because you don't go from a high ankle sprain to not playing for 5 weeks without there being other information there that they're not saying.
Well, yeah,
So,
it's something that I like I told you, it's probably something that he did in the off season outside of football that is most likely they're not trying to bring it into the media because the media dissects everything,
sure.
here and there. I guarantee you it's something that's going to be a contractual issue as well too.
Oh,
That's another reason.
I doubt that. I mean,
No, because they value him as a player. I think they're trying to safeguard him to an extent.
maybe. I will say, just to sit rep on the timing. So, well, Houston is at Baltimore this week. First of all, they're likely to lose that game, even as bad as the Ravens have been. Now, depending on Lamar Jackson playing, we'll get to that. They have the bye after that. So now, I know you were all about, okay, after their bye week, keep an eye on Mix and Watch coming to come back. But at this point, again, like we have no idea. We have no more insight than anybody else does on that. After their bye, they're at Seattle, another great defense. So they might end up being in a non-competitive. They might end up being non-competitive in the next few weeks. I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't change the fact that Marks is worth it. He's gonna be great. You gotta go ahead and get him. Um, so much lower down on the list is the next couple names we'll talk about. We got to highlight an extra highlight on Kendre Miller. So they gave him basically, oh, I don't know if they gave him the bulk of the work or half of, like, he was on the field a lot in that game. And this, like we said, the Saints were super competitive against the Bills. Kendre Miller was somebody that we thought you should have rostered anyway as a handcuff. We've kept identifying him. I thought he looked great. He's clearly had a bit of a resurgence here under Kellen Moore. He needs to be rostered. You need to get him on your team. Um,
I mean, he only had 31% snap percentage. So,
well,
but
how
again,
much did Kamara have? I mean,
it had to be in the 60s.
it felt like every time I was looking up, he was on the field getting work. He had a lot of touches. He had a lot of touches.
He had
I know
73%.
I know he had 65 yards. It was a good day from him. He needs to be rostered, especially if you have Kamara.
Well, the
Um,
thing the thing with Kendra Miller is he actually did work with, the amount of touches that he received. So, and he
right.
also scored touchdown too.
Um, we want to do another quick highlight of Ollie Gordon. So with the Tyreek Hill injury, which we'll get to, they are likely to run the ball a little bit more. So where we've already been talking about Ollie Gordon, his potential, his role in the offense, especially with the possibility for Achane to go down, definitely needs to be rostered. The potential is there. Should be available in your league 20, 40%, depending on where you are. And I mean, let's just talk about Kenneth Gainwell. We talked about it in the Sunday Live, Tommy. Like you needed to have paid attention. We've been talking about Ken Gainwell for as long as we have been. Warren gets declared out. You could have just slotted Gainwell right in there if you
Yep.
had him already on the team. God bless you if you didn't have it or if you forgot to take out Warren before the game. One thing to know is they're going into a bye, so Warren will have time to get healthy before their game the following week. So obviously you're not like if you want Gainwell, you need to go get him. He's 35-40% in leagues now. He's going to be well owned after his, 10,000 touchdown performance. Do you think when Warren comes back, like clearly it's a 50-50 at that point?
Yeah, I just feel like they want to basically how they kind of leaned a little bit last week. I think they want to try to get Johnson in there. Johnson keeps but Johnson keeps making his mistakes. He just looks flat on the he looks really slow. He doesn't look like intuitive on his route running. Like it's just and then he's not catching the ball when he needs to. Like he did have 21% snap share, which was drastically higher than his 3% the week prior, or actually 3% from the 2 weeks prior because he didn't play that last week against New England. But um I mean, he did get an uptick because obviously Warren was out. I think that they want to kind of work him in a little bit, but again, he's just proven that he's just not valuable. So yeah, I mean, Kenneth Gainwell is a valuable asset. I would roll with him, and he's not just a basically he's not a handcuff. He is a valuable asset
Yes.
week in, week out. But I think it's based on script. I think against Cleveland, that could be a really good script game for him. Because they're going to have to get some, the passing game going. They're going to have to do some in and outs. I mean, the same thing with Warren. Warren is a passing down back, but I think Kenneth Gainwell is a little bit more elusive than more of a power back as Warren.
No, I agree with you. It's interesting to
Um,
see how they're doing that. Um,
yeah.
so did you have any other names you wanted to specifically highlight before we get to the
Yeah, I
the
want to
rundown here?
this is not an ad drop. This is not a waiver. This is somebody I believe is a trade for target right now.
Oh, okay.
Um, RJ Harvey right now he is 80% owned. Maybe in the 90s in more profile leagues, but around 80 to 90% owned. So he could be on waivers. I did actually in one league I found him on waivers in one league. I picked him up, which was I thought it was great. Because I think
The Island of Idiots League.
yeah, well that was actually in a league that we're all in. I picked him up there and yeah, I think he's a great trade for a target. He did have more he had more snap percentage from the previous week into this week. He did finish up running back 13 this past week. He had 14 attempts for 58 yards against the Cincinnati defense, and he had 5 targets, 4 receptions, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Um, and he looked good doing it. And it wasn't forced. So, they were playing ahead. I think they were utilizing him to a point where they want to see what he's got. And honestly, I will say Cincinnati's defense on the goal line did look tough at times. At times. So I think that this could be a trade for target. You might want to buy, you might not be able to buy low, but you may be able to, make some moves to work him over.
No, I don't disagree with you, but again, it's we said this about a couple of these rookie running backs, Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, and RJ Harvey. They'll take over as the year goes on, but the status that people imbued on them at the start of the year was just too much. Like not their draft capital ended up being too much, and it's being reflective. Like these other guys, Warren, Dobbins, and even Stevenson. I mean, they are having some early season success. So.
Mhm.
But like you said, maybe it could be good to acquire. Although I think after this last game, Harvey looked really good in the game. It might
Yep.
be like people might not be willing to part with him so easily. But yeah,
Yeah, but you might have to buy higher than
yeah.
expected.
We have some interesting. We'll get to that when we get to the end. We have some interesting trade. We have like an interesting trade sit rep show, which we'll get to. But let's get to the running back. Oh yeah,
One more player, and you're because this is actually a part of the running back handcuff positions. I do
sure.
think that DeMarcado should be rostered. They're going to be in
I agree.
they're going to be in passing down situations a lot. And I do think that DeMarcado is definitely somebody to roster. You may be able to potentially get him on the ad drops after waivers clear. But if you're looking for depth, you're looking for somebody that's going to be potentially productive every single week, you should go out there and get him.
I agree. He has his own standalone value. And by the way, if you look at the snap counts for Arizona this past game, they were very close to 50-50, Benson
Yep.
and DeMarcado. So keep an eye on that. So yeah, let's get to the rundown here. And there's definitely a few things that Tommy, I really want your opinion on. Just I'm curious how to make of it. So Arizona, like we said, you're rostering Benson and your DeMarcado should be rostered, and like he has his own standalone value, like we mentioned. Atlanta, Bijan and Algiers the cuff. Baltimore. I mean, after that crazy game, okay, obviously Henry you're rostering. Clearly it's Justice Hill. Yeah, clearly it's Justice Hill. And he, by the way, just
Well,
judging by
again,
how,
Justice Hill, they were down by so much. Justice Hill is the pass down back, so
yeah, and the thing is, we should do a better job of like kind of outlining this quirk with Derrick Henry and with the Ravens in general. When the Ravens are up, they're bullies. They will run it down your throat. Henry gets 200 yards, bash you in the face, etc. When they're down, Henry comes off the field a lot. It doesn't do as well. They got Justice Hill in the game on a lot of the third downs, a lot of second downs and stuff. It's a weird thing. And a lot of people complain about that online, the Henry owners, etc. So maybe it's worth keeping an eye on the games in which they're not going to be favored, which are fewer and far between. But keep an eye on that. So
I
yeah,
mean,
just
he only had 10 touches in a massive game that they needed him to roll. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but Derrick Henry, when he was with the Titans and they were playing the Seahawks about 5 years ago, they were down by 14 or 17 points, and they came back and won that game because they ran the ball on the ground with Derrick Henry, and he just basically bursted for almost 200 yards rushing. So, I mean, you gotta give the ball to your best players, and you can't play scared. And it looks like they were basically playing scared because they felt their defense couldn't keep up.
right. And their O line was being, completely exploited by Spags. I mean, it was a game like that. So keep an eye on that. That little quirk with the Ravens there. All right, back to Buffalo. Obviously, James Cook is the guy. Here's another game in which Ray Davis was outsnapped by Ty Johnson. Is this another ho hum? They just want to get him touches, or what do you make of this?
I think it's script still. Like I can't. I think it was script because they weren't anticipating basically to be playing. All right, we gotta really play catch up on this. So we gotta go ahead by a little bit more. We might lose this game. Let's throw Johnson in there. I think Ray Davis is the glorified handcuff for Cook still.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it as like we need to pay attention to this every single week. Because I'm worried that that's the case. Maybe you're not necessarily rostering the right guy, but we'll keep an eye on it going forward. Carolina, we've already said Chuba's the guy, Dowdle's the cuff. Chicago, Swift. I don't even know. I'm not even going to use the word Swift is the guy. He looked like crap in the last game, but obviously you're rostering him. Manungai looked good, and he should be. He doesn't have any standalone value at the moment with how they're operating, but he is definitely the cuff there. Cincinnati, Chase Brown's the guy. The other guys are in a full committee, so you don't need to roster anybody else if he goes down at the moment. Judkins, the guy in Cleveland. Ford would be the cuff, although Sampson, again, it depends on how valuable you think your Cleveland backfield is at the moment. Um, keep that in mind. Dallas. So Javonte Williams is the guy. Sanders is the cuff. He's been having a lot of success as a standalone also. Watch out for the injury. I know the injury made Tommy very excited about a guy that we won't name because he has no value this season, but we could keep an
This
eye on him.
season, he will have value towards the end of the season.
We'll see. Sanders is
Jaden Blue.
likely to suit up for the Jets, and if there's any indications, Dallas is going to beat the Jets 77-0. So we'll get to that game at the end of this week.
No, it should
De
be a competitive game. It should be about like, 40 to 41 game or something like that.
it just might be. Denver, Dobbins right now is the guy, but like we said, Harvey has standalone value and he's the cuff. So take of that. Detroit, obviously, both guys, Gibbs and Montgomery. You've got Green Bay. Just a quick mention. So Jacobs is the guy, and right now, like we said, Wilson is the cuff. You might be dropping him like, playing your roster game or whatever. But keep an eye on Marshawn Lloyd. He's perennially injured or whatever. Keep an eye on the usage when he comes back. They did draft him to be the backup or the ascending guy when Jacobs leaves or whatever. I still think it's never going to happen, but if I said that on, fantasy in the fantasy community online, I would be outcasted. So just thought we'd mention it to everybody. I still think it's going to be Wilson for the entire year. Do you disagree with that, or do you think Marshawn Lloyd has a role?
I think he has a little bit of a role, but not to the extent that he should.
Okay. Okay. Houston, we talked about it. I don't think this means that you drop Chubb. I think both players, Chubb and Marks, are both valuable to own, and like we said, you don't drop starting running backs. We'll keep an eye on Mixon in the next couple of weeks. Indianapolis, Taylor's the guy, Giddens is the cuff. Jacksonville, Etienne's the guy, Tootin's the cuff, and Tootin has standalone value himself, although not the best game this past game.
No,
Hit
but he still, has a nice percentage.
Kansas City, both Pacheco and Hunt should be rostered, but man, at this point, they're both very close to unplayable. Well, I personally think Hunt has more value, even though Pacheco gets the more work kind of thing. I mean, we'll see when they start getting into, keep an eye on game script and different things like that. I mean, they found a lot of success against the Ravens, but the Ravens defense isn't the best. Las Vegas, Junty's the guy. There is no value at the moment in their team if he goes down
You
to full
notice
committee.
you notice something about speaking about Genty. This was his first week that he was allowed, or he actually just said, "Screw it, I'm gonna stand up like I did in college,
Oh
like
God,
Michael Myers, just stand back there and just take a vision of the field and just basically
The
just run
Michael Myers stance.
the Michael Myers stance." Um, he just said, "Chip Kelly, I know what I'm doing. Leave me alone. I'm not working on my stance anymore."
I just I'm watching that and I have to imagine. Could you imagine when we played if we pulled that? Could you imagine
Yeah,
if
no,
it
I get it.
if it
But you know
works
what?
for him, it works for him. No, I
Exactly.
mean,
You can't take something away from somebody that's been doing it for so many years and has been successful with it in college. I mean, like
uh,
you got to fix your stance. I mean, I got a question for you, Chip Kelly. Have you looked on the which one call it the Detroit side of the ball? I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs stands that way too, and he's pretty successful with it. So
it's not as
it's not
bad.
this it's not as bad, but you know what? Let the man do what he wants to do. He
It,
got to where he is. He's your first round pick. Uh, let him do what he needs to be in a mindset to play football.
Chauncey looks like he's standing at a podium about to give like a commencement speech.
Yeah,
But yeah,
he
but
does. But he is because everybody's racing after him on the defensive side of the ball because his offense is terrible.
by the way, I tried so hard to trade for Junty in a lot of leagues. I really tried, and I just couldn't swing. I almost had in it, just not to aside in our league of record. I tried to make a trade with Mr. I won't say the last Mr. John D. I tried to trade, and it was so close. We almost had an agreement. I tried to trade him Judkins and Pearsall for Junty, which would have been good value. He would have got Judkins in return. But like after this game, it's not going to happen. It's just I tried so hard. But all right, you live with regrets. All right.
I'm glad that didn't happen.
I know you would have thrown a fit. The Chargers. Hampton obviously is the guy. With Harris out now and it clear, like it just with the way that the usage worked, it seems like Haskins is the cuff. I would be rostering Haskins if I had Hampton. But I know let's keep an eye on Kamani Vidal Sassoon in the future. But it seems to be Haskins just from this past game. The Rams, Kyron, you're rostering Kyron. Corum needs to be cuffed 100%. Very little standalone value, but he is going to be the guy, and he looks good when they give him 4 touches that he gets a game or whatever. Miami, we talked about it. Achan's the guy, Gordon's the cuff. Minnesota, both Jones should be back in a couple weeks, very shortly. But Jones and Mason should both be rostered. You don't need to roster anybody else. New England, obviously, you're rostering both Henderson and Stevenson. Both have standalone value. New Orleans, we talked about it. Kamara's the guy, Miller's the cuff. The Giants, Scadaboo's now the guy. Tyrone Tracy should be back. Not next week, the week after. What's the latest
Yeah,
on him?
but Scadaboo's the guy. I wouldn't
Uh,
worry about that.
Well, I think you should roster Tracy,
No,
especially when
no,
he's
no,
back.
no,
But
no. Tracy should be rostered. I don't understand why Singletary is getting a lot of run back there, but again,
does it
I guess
aggravate you that he gets one run? Like,
no, he was on series. He had like multiple series where he was taking over. I'm like, what is going on here? Like Scadaboo just literally broke 3 to 4 tackles on one play. Just let that.
they have to limit how much Scatterboo bashes his face into
Yeah, I
people.
mean, then he
Okay.
definitely will have CTE.
The Jets, Brees Hall's the guy, Allen's the cuff. Although they gave Isaiah Davis a lot of work in that game. Keep an eye on that going forward. Philadelphia, okay. Barkley's obviously the guy. It seems like Shipley is going to be the cuff. He's working his way back in from the injury. This past game, Dillon seemed to get more work, but again, Shipley had that rib injury. He's coming back. Every time I look this up or every time I ask any Eagles person, they're like, Shipley's the guy, Shipley's the guy, Shipley's the guy. So we have Barkley in our league, in our high stakes league. We have Shipley as the cuff. We'll keep an eye on that too. Pittsburgh, we talked about it. Warren's the guy. Gainwell's the Warren and Gainwell are both the guys. So coming back off the bye, we'll see how they get usage. San Francisco, McCaffrey's the guy. Robinson's the cuff. Seattle,
Mhm.
Walker is the guy. Charbonnet is the cuff. Walker, aka Glass Joe. We'll see how long that we'll see how long that lasts. Tampa Bay, I just wanted to highlight this one real quick. Bucky Irving's the guy. Bucky Irving literally died for the cause last night. Or the other day. Um, he's not going to last if they give him that many touches and in that many scenarios.
And
So
I will be honest with Bucky Irving is he had one big play that gave him his week. That 172-yard reception touchdown or whatever it was.
he had a
That's
good week other than that,
yeah,
though.
but but fantasy wise, points wise, like he, if he didn't catch that ball for that touchdown, he would have had a low end RB2, maybe RB3
Oh, that's not
week.
true. That's
It
not.
is true.
He had like
He had 23 fantasy points with that one play, that 72-yard. You don't know how many how many points came out of bonuses as well too. You're talking about take all that out. You're not even in the teens.
Do you want to feel better about us saying that he was not
Yes.
going to have that good day? Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Bucky
fine.
Irving is booty.
All right, Bucky Irving, obviously he's the guy. Should be Ross. Keep an eye after that game where he had 10,000 touches.
He's a trade away target for me.
He is.
If you,
I agree. I agree
yeah.
with that. Bucky,
For you guys who drafted him so early, trade him away. Go get some value.
Rashad White, again, not the prettiest, but should be rostered. He has his own standalone value. And if I'm the Bucky Irving owner in deep leagues, I think Sean Tucker should be rostered. I think he's the biggest beneficiary if Bucky Irving were to go down. We've seen him have success.
Yeah.
I got it. Maybe, having 3 different running backs, out and about for one team. It is what it is. Just keep an eye on it. And again, like I would trade away or Bucky if I had the chance. Tennessee, we talked about it, we talked about it last week. Pollard's the guy, but now with Spears coming back, they both could have some value. Although this could be similar to like Kansas City, but for different reasons. Tennessee's just so bad. Like I'm not that crazy about it, but again, they're both going to get basically a lot of work. And Washington, okay, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this one. Tom Lang, tell me what to make of Washington.
I mean, don't start anybody on that roster
Who
right
should be
now.
rostered? All 3 of them?
I think all 3 of them still needs to be rostered. I mean, you have to have JCM, Rodriguez, and McNichols. I think Rodriguez still is the most valuable one out of everybody, to be
Really?
honest. Still to this day, I'm still on the Rodriguez train, unless he gets hurt. But stay on. I think Rodriguez is just the most valuable guy back there. JCM is just a flashy guy. It's just the name. I feel like everybody's just trying to put his name out there. Um, you know, especially a guy with the last name Berry. He's a big Washington fan. But um, I think Rodriguez is the way to go. I mean, it's still he's the power back. He kind of most resembles the back of Robinson, which they lost. And I think that he has value in the pass catching game too. So I mean, he's young, he's mobile, you know, and he's good to go. So I
What
think,
what what do you make of the uh obviously listen, they got pretty well beat up by the Falcons there.
yeah,
But and Jaden Daniels should be back the next game. What do you make of that? Do you think the game plan changes slightly? There's a
well,
lot of there should be
I
value
think
in this backfield.
I think the running game does better, obviously, with Jaden Daniels back there. It's a clear cut thing that a backup quarterback. He had Mariota. He is what he is, right?
He's a
He's
quality backup.
Yeah, he's a quality backup. It depends on the week, right? It depends on the team he's playing. It was technically a revenge game, but
Stupid as
the
that.
the Falcons took revenge on him.
Can I read this to you? So ready for snap counts? Here we go. Chris Rodriguez, 20. JCM, 20. Jeremy McNichols, 19. So I agree with you. I want to personally, I would not be starting any one of them until more clarity happens, but I do think all three of them probably should be rostered. I mean,
Where did the other percentage go to? Who else was in there?
that was it. That was it. It was like, although they ran
20,
it.
2019.
Yeah, otherwise they ran empty or something. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, yeah, funny business happening in the command. So the Commanders, their next game is they're at the Chargers. So they're going to be in a competitive game with them. It'll be interesting to see how they roll, and maybe we'll get some more clarity out of that. I would try to take that shot. Now, it might be difficult for you to continue to roster, let's say McNichols going into the bye week per se, but if you can, just like wait and see. So there we go. So that's the running back rundown. Ready to jump into wide receivers?
Yep.
Okay, wide receivers. So we're gonna start with some drop candidates, and we'll start with bad news right at the top. So Malik Neighbors and Tyreek Hill are out for the season, both 99% in whatever leagues. Really, really awful. Really awful for both players, and I know the Malik Neighbors one especially hit you hard. Is what it is. They're going to be out for the season. You got to, from a fantasy perspective, you got to react. And we definitely have some players that we're going to bring up in the aftermath of these things. So, before we jump into a quick reaction, what was your initial reaction to Malik Neighbors going down?
Well, I definitely knew he tore something, especially on the slow motion of how he stepped. It was, it sucks. So
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. My initial reaction was, I don't know how the Giants are going to win this game, and they still found out a way. They still found a way to win. But we'll good for them. So bad day from the Chargers, but we'll get to the
put it
Giants
together.
implications. They put it together. Jaden Reed, like we keep talking about it, he'll be back week 14, maybe if he does. Like that's way too long to just hold somebody on the team for like. And we've already seen the Green Bay, like they're just throwing it to literally everybody on a guy where quote unquote Tommy's favorite quote from ever, he isn't a wide receiver. You don't need to have him on your team. Let him go. So he's still like 50% in both leagues. You could let him go. All right, and my favorite name on this list here, drop candidates, Calvin Ridley. He's 85, 84% in both leagues. The last two games, three catches for 57 yards, and he's injured, and the team looks horrendous. Why should somebody continue to keep Calvin Ridley?
You just gotta hold.
Oh, if it
You
keeps,
gotta hold.
it's so bad. They're so bad.
He could be a trade candidate. I would just hold.
Who would pay anything for him?
I don't know. The Giants need a wide receiver.
Ugh. All right, maybe. Um, Darnell Mooney, we identified him before. We're going to identify him again. He's going into a bye week now too, and even in a great game by the Falcons, he had one catch for 15, and he's has the injury situation. He's likely to be better by the time they come back off their bye week, but we could reassess at that point. As of now, you don't need to. Nobody's going to be picking him up. Nobody's going to be picking him up. You can go ahead and drop him and then reassess after next week. So
I
go
got
ahead
a
and get
question
rid of
for
him.
you. Do you think that Travis Hunter is a drop candidate? I mean, he's
Close.
he's He's consistently doing nothing.
close to it. Yeah. Um, there's still upside. Um, I I
Do you
don't
think
know.
it's the same amount of upside that he has that Kevin really has? Because they're pretty close.
No, one guy is a rookie, the number two overall pick, and the other guy is 30. He's on the horrendous team, etc. It's very different. Moving on.
Which
Cedric,
being on horrendous team means that you're going to be behind. It should be actually productive for wide receivers, right?
right, but we've seen the Titans play such far.
Mm.
Um, last name on here, we identified him already. People aren't listening. Like Cedric Tillman, at this point, you need to drop him. So he had the injury consideration, and he went 1 for 6. And it's like Flacco's not dealing the way that he used to. It's
Yeah, he
not
went
that
one
it's
for six because he got injured.
I know, but it's like it's the offense is not functioning the way that it needs to. It's you could let him go. And the next two matchups is Minnesota and Pittsburgh. You could let it go. Like you don't need to have him on the team.
I got a question for you. This is another one. Drop candidate Cooper Cup.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no.
So he's out there anywhere from for the last 2 weeks, 54 and
Right.
74% snap percentage. He finished week 3 against New Orleans 65, number 65, and last week against Arizona 63. He did get 8 targets in both those games combined with 6 receptions, but only 57 yards, no touchdowns. I feel like there's so much more value in the waiver wire that you can potentially, make a move to say, hey, listen, I can move on from this guy. Let him be somebody else's problem.
This is a possibility. I had him as a thought. I want to see one more. They've got a nice juicy matchup against Tampa Bay that they're gonna have to throw the ball a lot in to stay competitive. So I'd be really interested to see how that game goes. If he still fails in that game, I think I'll be on that train next week. We'll see how that goes. So there we go. So let's talk about probably owned. I've got two guys in here. So Wan'Dale Robinson. So especially after the Malik Neighbors injury here, Wan'Dale Robinson needs to be on every single team. He's the lead guy now, and also we had already identified him earlier in the season. Had a had a bit of an off game or two, but like he's going to be the guy now. Just it is what it is. Now I would say
I don't think he's specifically going to be the guy. I think they're going to be spreading the ball as much and maybe not I don't think that I don't think that Dart needs to throw for 300 yards to win the game.
I wanted to bring this up. I want to get your opinion. So I think this is the going to be the main issue now, identifying Giants pass catchers. How much passing volume is there actually going to be? Say what you want about Russ, he was throwing it a lot. So how do
Well,
you so how do you dissect
I
this?
think it's another reason why he was making a lot of mistakes.
Right, but we like lots of targets and lots of passes.
I get it, but I mean, I don't think, just if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles side of the ball, they don't really care about what fantasy looks like.
Well, we care.
I know we care, but that's what I'm
Right.
saying. I don't think there's really anybody that I'd say, "Hey, listen, this is somebody that I need to, add to my fantasy roster right now because of the value." The only players I think that should have value is Scatterboo, the running game, right? And then maybe you pick up Dart as a potential opportunity because he's going to run the ball.
We'll get to him. We'll get to him. I
But
don't I, I
I
don't I
mean,
don't know how
if
you
you
could
get if
possibly glean that you should not have Robinson after
well,
what
no,
happened.
no, Robinson, no, I get, you should have Robinson, but don't expect the 30-point game, the
Oh yeah,
20
yeah.
point game. You have to expect maybe flex two numbers from him because they're not going to be throwing the ball nearly as much as they were with Russ.
I saw something funny on Reddit that
I will say though too, another player in general opinion,
oh
he's our general opinion is Darius Slayton. They did pay the guy an
yes,
astronomical amount of money for Darius Slayton, which I still can't figure out why. But Darius Slayton did get paid a lot of money. He should be involved into that offense and, a little bit more thoroughly. There is a tight end. We could talk about him when we get closer.
we'll get there.
Um, he was pretty productive last week, which I did say he could be a nice little spot start as well too, because of the situation. That's obviously pre Malik Neighbors, but I think he's gonna have more of a vital role this week moving forward.
Yeah. So lots of things to touch on. So we'll get to some of those names. Just real quick, the other name and probably own Stephon Diggs. He had really like a nice breakout game there, 6 for 101. He looked really good, and New England's starting to look pretty good with their offense there. We'll see how competitive they stay for the rest of the year. And they've got a real tough game at Buffalo this coming week. But Stephon Diggs, like I feeling much more confident about getting him out there now, especially if with Drake May getting some confidence under him. So we'll talk more about him when we get to the preview game. So let's get to some general options. So not even close. The name right at the top of the list is Romeo Dobbs. We've already been identifying him beforehand. So if you guys have been taking our advice, you guys would have benefited. And we told you he was basically like very close to a must start along with Golden in this past game, and you would have benefited.
Mhm.
So he's still only 36, 40%, depending on your league across. You could go ahead and pick him up, not just because you're chasing points, but because the opportunity is there in Jaden Reed's absence. One thing to note is it is going into a bye. You're not going to be able to get him next week. People are going to try to pick him up now. So if you want him, you got to get him now. Just bear in mind that can your roster support that? So pick your shots there. We got Darius Slayton on here for the reasons that Tommy mentioned. Basically, so Malika Neighbors goes down, and the next guy up, and Darius Slayton's been there for a while. He has, he's a Giants guy. I kind of agree with what you said, Tommy, earlier, in that with a decreased passing volume, there's going to be lower value to go around. So I would like if you really believe it, take that shot, but I wouldn't be. But not because I don't like the talent of him. It's just going to be a lower passing volume offense at this
Yeah, I
point.
mean, he in my eyes is a like wide receiver five.
Okay. Um,
He's not somebody that I'm like, ooh, I gotta plug him into my lineup this week.
we got to talk about Juju again. So obviously he had a nice game. And we've basically kind of been talking about him on and off. Juju is an option basically up until Rashee Rice comes back. 10 targets the last 2 weeks, 4 catches in each game. He's always a decent shot if you need to get yourself some guaranteed points out of your wide receiver position, basically until Rashee Rice comes back. But just to point out, these are the guys we're talking about. This is the smoke and mirrors that Mahomes is making it work with. Tyquan Thornton, Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, so keep
And
it.
and he'll be back. Rice will be back week 7 against Las Vegas.
That's right. And they'll throw him right
Juicy
in.
matchup.
Yeah.
Juicy matchup.
We've been talking about him, Elok Iomanner, who's actually a much more owned in sleeper, 58%, 31 in ESPN. It's a bad team, but he's basically taken over as the number one option there. Despite it is what it is, Tommy. Like it's just like clearly it is. In the 4 games, he's had 7, 6, 5, and 7 targets this season with 2 good games, even in a horrendous offense. He has seems to have the best rapport with Cam Ward. They clearly work together well, especially with like Ridley not really doing much. He's the only wide receiver I'm comfortable even remotely throwing out there if I had to for Tennessee. But
Yeah, he could be a solid flex at this point.
yep. And we'll just highlight again Troy Franklin. He's about 40% owned in both leagues. He's still second in the snap counts, and it's not close. It's Sutton and him, and then far down the list is Mims.
Yeah, Mims did have a nice game
He
this
did,
past week. But a lot of it came from that one touchdown.
right?
So
Yeah, and Franklin had 8 targets this last game. He needs to be rostered. He's good. Whether or not, like, keep an eye, like they might have some variances in terms of who gets a touchdown or whatever, but you can't turn down snap counts. You can't turn down targets. We're going to talk about something a little bit later in the week about some math regarding targets and points, but we'll save that for another show. So let's keep going for the waivers here.
and Franklin also played with Knicks at Oregon, right?
Did he?
Yeah, he did. They did.
Okay, we got
Yeah.
narrow street now. Okay. Um, any other names you want to mention for wide receiver?
Uh, no, I mean there is one player that I wanted to ask you what your opinion was. Trey Tucker, he went 2 for 2, 13 yards. After the massive week he had the week prior, everybody spent all their money, all their fab on him.
Stupidly.
Yep. And what is your thought with Trey Tucker? Do you think that he's a valuable asset, or is he just kind of like gonna be a boomer busty every single week?
I don't even know if he's boomer busty every single week. He's probably boomer busty in a perfect matchup against,
Because
you know,
because you got to remember what he did last year. He did the same thing. I think he had a number one week the prior year in 2024.
he
Let me
had
see.
he had a good couple of weeks when like everybody else was down and it was like
He had a number 8 week against Carolina last year, and then outside of that,
right, it was
it was
Carolina.
nothing.
If you
Yeah, I
can't have a
mean,
number 8 week against Carolina when Jacoby Myers is
and
down or whatever.
and he was getting his targets throughout the entire season last year, but he also didn't do anything with them to the
Right.
extent. So, I mean, if you got him, you're holding. He's not a trade away target. He's not a he could be a drop target if this continues for the next 2 weeks,
I don't know.
potentially.
I don't even like. I don't even know how you just keep him on. You can just go ahead and drop it. I don't
Uh,
know. But
Drop it like it's hot.
yeah, or drop it like you're smart and you need roster space going into a bye. Like this is a big bye week. There's a lot of players that are on bye. The
Yep.
entire Green Bay wide receiver core is on bye, which a lot of people like. You need space on your roster. Um,
Well,
let's
that's
jump.
what usually happens when you're on bye. The entire wide receiver core is usually on bye.
What I'm saying is those are all guys that are all relevant, like on people's teams and stuff. Um, among other players that we could name. So let's jump into tight ends. So we got the same two drop candidates that people are not listening to us and they just won't drop them for some reason. Colson Loveland, who didn't even play this past week, and they're going into a bye,
I don't
and,
get that.
and they're being again, it's him and Komet are just vulturing each other. He's 40-50% league in whatever league you're in. Let it go. And Evan Ingram, like he's barely involved in the offense. And also, I got it. He had that one catch that kind of got him into range. He had this other catch that he didn't even try to get his feet in bounds. I don't know if you watched it last night. Like it wasn't even like it was the largest step. He steps out of bounds. It cost him like 6 yards. It basically took them out of touchdown range. He's 50-60% on the leagues. Let him go. Let him go. There's better options on the waiver wire. So let's talk about those options. Probably owned. We'll just highlight them again. Dalton Kincaid and Kyle Pitts. Like they're good. We identified them in the offseason. They're good. Dalton Kincaid, he caught the one catch that was thrown to him for a touchdown. He's got a nose for the end zone now. Um, he keeps doing it. He's just over and over and over and over. He keeps doing it. Kyle Pitts himself, one of the top tight ends this past week, let alone the touchdown in a game where they're putting up 34 points. Penix seems to be trying to put it together. It might have some growing pains. They are going into a bye, but the both of them are good. They need to be rostered. They're basically in must-start territory at this point.
Hmm.
And then Hunter Henry, 3 out of the 4 games have been very good. On top of he had that monster game or whatever, he's a must start for now and going forward. He's the number one target in New England. Him and Diggs are going to be basically soaking up all the targets from Drake May. I don't know how you don't celebrate it, that idea. I got it. It's just old and, you know, people might not be as excited about the situation. Take your targets. That's what we say. Targets are king. Take your targets. And he's got a nose for the end zone himself. So let's talk about some more widely available guys here. So I have top on this list Brendan Strange. So 2 straight good games. Both games, six catches on 7 targets. He seems to be the lead guy in this offense that, like you said, that they're not using Travis Hunter and it's hit and miss with Brian Thomas. I like Brendan Strange, right? Like
Yeah, I mean he's consecutive weeks with 6 for 7. His yards, but he does need that touchdown for it to be super relevant. But in a PPR setting, that is a nice start for your tight end. Getting at least 10 plus points there. Um, and he will start seeing touchdowns. I think this upcoming week against Kansas City, he could see a touchdown.
yeah, they're gonna have to put up points to be competitive. Um, next game on the list, next name on the list here, what we said it's Theo Johnson of the
Theo
Giants.
Johnson.
So he did well in Neighbors' absence. Give him credit, and Tommy identified him even the week before, even before Neighbors went down. He looks like an ascending kind of talent. I'd be excited to pick him up if I'm bereft at the tight end position.
Yeah, I think he's going to be more of a possessional tight end. I don't think you're going to get 50, 60, 70 yards out of the guy, but if he can be a possessional guy, also red zone target on little scat plays and stuff like that, his touchdown he received was a little flip. And it was a scripted play for him. So if they're going to script plays like that, I think he could be a valuable asset. He was in 70% of the snap percentage. He did finish, a 13th tight end. So he is a streamable asset. He's not a start and sit. Sorry, start and forget. So you gotta go, and if during these bye weeks, if you're losing your tight end, he might be
Right.
somebody that you might want to plug in.
That's a good. I mean, people might be losing Tucker Kraft this week. Kyle Pitts, etc. It could be a perfectly good option. And I can't even believe I'm bringing this name up now. I can't even believe how that name. And by the way, this name basically cost us, our high stakes league because he took up a lot of the Jalen Waddle stuff. So Darren
Yeah,
Waller himself, who's widely available, 8% league, so you could get him anywhere. You can't ignore two touchdowns. You just can't.
you can't, but he only received four targets, three for four, 27, two touchdowns.
With
So, I
with
mean,
Tyreek Hill out,
I mean, I think it's just going to be all over the place unless his targets go up next week. The snap percentage hasn't been updated as of yet, but he did finish number two tight end of the week. 16 and a half points for a half point PPR. Uh, that's two touchdowns. It's not two touchdowns is not going to happen every single week.
no, it's not. But with Tyreek Hill out, I could see him being worked more into the offense. And
I could see Washington be worked more into the offense.
oh, I can't.
Uh,
Ugh.
he's worked into the offense now.
I, yeah, but not no more than like his role is like that role that he has. Um. Anyway, like put it this way, I'm not gonna fault anybody for picking up Waller. Don't chase two touchdowns, but you just can't ignore it. And they got a nice matchup this coming week against Carolina. So again, if you need to throw somebody in there, it's
Well, I
yeah.
mean, there's another acronym name for the wide receivers that's actually still on that wide receiver
Oh,
offensive.
and NWI.
Yep, NWI is still
Wait,
there.
I'm not bringing him up right now. We'll start his touchdown guarantee every week, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that. And the last name we keep talking about him, so Isaiah Likely. So we're gonna keep him on here and keep him on your radar. So this was his first game back. He didn't do much,
He didn't do anything.
but he's getting worked back in. So I actually sat and I wanted to give you guys like a look at the timeline. So they got Houston, they're home against Houston this week, and then they're home against the Rams the following week. Then they're in a bye week. If there's going to be some sort of a trade involving Mark Andrews, it might happen during the bye week, although you can't exactly speculate on these kind of things. That having been said, by that point, Likely is probably going to be integrated into the offense, and by that point, you'll have an idea as to what that situation is going to be. If
Yeah,
Andrew, go ahead.
yeah, I will say, having 45% snap percentage, zero targets, zero attempts,
He's
zero
getting worked
receptions.
in. I
He's
mean,
getting worked in. I think this could be a good trade for
sure,
target. Somebody that base was like, oh, they literally just felt, all right, let's plug him in. We told you not to do that because
right.
we thought this was Mark Andrews' last hurrah kind of opportunity. Um, Isaiah Likely definitely trade for. Try to see if that owner is just really pissed off that nothing came out of it. Like a zero came out of it at a 45% snap percentage. So I think you could get some really great value out of him.
Yeah. And we'll keep an eye on this the next couple weeks leading into their bye 2 weeks from now, but we'll get to that. So there we go. So if you like I said, if you got a tight end going into a buy and you need to pick somebody up and throw somebody right in, like I said, I'd be super happy with Brenton Strange or Theo Johnson, honestly, if I had to. Well, but depending on whatever other options you've got. So there we go. Ready to move on to streamers?
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the A stream for all you lovely listeners streaming quarterback and or defense. We will do our best to hook you guys up with guys who are widely available at both positions and get you guys a win for week 5. So starting at the quarterback position. So there's some guys here that I think are being overvalued for this current week, judging from what I'm seeing on like the fantasy community. I'm hoping you can help me dissect it. So let's start with the good. Matt Stafford. So he is home against San Francisco. They have 26 implied points. And he obviously he just had a great game. I think he's the top on my list in terms of taking a shot for a streaming quarterback this week.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it is a Thursday night game, so I'm a little hesitant about starting somebody that's a streamer on a Thursday night game. But again, I
uh,
think Stafford is a nice start this week.
So I got to give you this. So the next couple of games, and I know you're going to disagree with one of them. So the next games, they're all streamers, but I'm wary about all three of them: Jackson Dart, Tua Tagovailoa, and Trevor Lawrence. So Jackson Dart, obviously, he's coming off of a nice game. So they're at New Orleans. There's only 20 implied points total for the Giants right now, according to the FanDuel sports line. And then they're in New Orleans. I would be a little bit afraid about just throwing Jackson Dart right in there. Are you disagreeing with that?
Yeah, I don't think you can start him. Um, he's definitely somebody I want to keep an eye on. I want to see if they're still going to utilize him in the running game as much. They did have some scripted running plays. I do think it's a little, as a Giants fan, it's a little scary to see your franchise quarterback being thrown to the wolves like that and running the ball as much as he did, like Daniel Jones did. He's not built like Daniel Jones, nor should he be. So. So I think they need to, he did throw for 111 yards. He did it was a 20 for 13, I think it was, for 111 yards and a touchdown and then rushing touchdown. So I think they need to be a little bit, obviously you got to run the ball to an extent, but you got to refrain yourself a little bit to prevent some injury
I
factor.
I agree with you. Tua Tagovailoa. So I'm scared of that. Even though they're at Carolina, they have a lower implied points total now. The line shifted after Tyreek Hill got hurt. They were favored, and now they're actually underdogs at Carolina. They might try to run the ball a bit more, especially against Carolina, who can't stop anything on the ground.
Hmm.
So I'm not as crazy about that situation for Tua. Trevor Lawrence, it's similar. I'm lower implied points total versus Kansas City. I'd be scared to roll that one out. But let me give you a good option as a consolation. So Sam Darnold, they are home against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has got a good run defense and a bad pass defense. Um, and Sam Darnold has been so solid. He just had a good game, and it would have been a bigger game if the Cardinals would have kept it more competitive earlier, which they
Hmm.
didn't. So to me, it's like Stafford at the top, Darnold is a second, and then if you really want to take your shot on one of those other guys, I guess Tua, but I'd be trying hard to get Stafford or Darnold in there if I need a streamer this week. You agree with that?
No, I agree with that.
All right. Defensively, man, we've got some interesting ones here. So top on this list, and it's not close, is the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are home against the Titans. Please, please play the Cardinals. They're playing Titans. And by the way, the Cardinals are a good defense themselves. They're pretty tough. They're widely available. You should be able to get them. They're playing the Titans. Rock and roll with the Arizona Cardinals. Some other good names, believe it or not, the Browns, who should be available in a lot of leagues.
Hmm.
They're only like 3 to 8% or whatever it is. So the entire game has a minuscule over under. The Browns D is good, and the Vikings offense has not been looking the best thus far under Wentz. It's been looking competent, just not the best. Yeah, I think the over under for that game is like it's like 30. Here, I have it right here. 36.5 right now is the over under. So I would be trying. The Browns are a good pickup. The Colts, they're playing the Raiders. You guys have seen how bad the Raiders have been. They're a good option. The Rams, so the 49ers offense has not been looking that good, and now they might be without Ricky Pearsall. So I don't know how they have any vertical passing game now.
Oh, Billy's just soaking up. He's hoping that Pearsall's out for a couple more weeks, so he doesn't have to do that ice bath.
Well, Kittle will be back soon at some point. The Rams are a perfectly good option. And then Tommy, I want you to tell me, I think the Giants and the Saints are both playable as defenses against each other.
Yeah. Well, I think the Giants over the Saints are better playable, more playable. I think the Giants have more oomph on their offense right now with Scatterboo, the Scat Man, and Dart. I feel like these guys sometimes they look like they're 80s and 90s players, just like walking out there, just the way they dress and the way that Scatterboo just leads with his head. He's literally going to be the poster boy for CTE one of these days.
He's not gonna last. He's not gonna.
If he keeps running like this, I mean, college is one thing, but NFL, you take massive, massive, massive hits.
Honestly, I'll say this too. Jackson Dart better be careful that he doesn't end up in that school. Like some of the ways that some of the plays that he made, he looked real good. Give him credit,
Yeah,
but man, he's got to protect himself a little bit.
he does. Yeah, he did not slide with his feet a couple times. He dove forward to get that extra yard. Don't do that, brother. You got a long career. Let's go 18 years. Let's go 18 years, please.
18 years. Take the slide. So there we go. So those are your streamers, and that's your week 5 waivers. We've got an interesting week this week. We've got obviously we got the big preview show, and we got another bonus little situation. We'll leave it as a bit of a surprise, but just to halfway tease it. It's going to involve giving you guys a sit rep on the first 4 weeks of the season, trade fors, trades against, and some other little surprises to give you guys, arm you guys with some lovely math that everybody loves so much, which is necessary to win your league. Final thoughts, Mr. Lang?
Yeah, if we could please share, subscribe. We truly appreciate everybody that takes the time to watch our video. And yeah, looking forward to the next one.
That's right. Thank you, everybody.